All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here on the Harmless Dave channel, talking about real music and doing it in real time for a handful of real people just like you and just like me. All right, so gonna talk about Nancy Wilson going off the rails as far as I'm concerned with certain comments. And, everybody has a different point of view. I don't like hers. I'm just gonna put it out there. And there's a ton of hypocrisy along with it. All right. So, my buddy Tom Mathers, he runs a record label out of Texas called Paris Records. And this is a new release. It's called Blue Ambition. He sent it to me. Nice enough to do that. Plus, the shirt I'm wearing is a cool Paris Records shirt. The album is called Seduction of the Innocent. And some very interesting themes on this album featuring Frederick Slema, Robbie LeBlanc, he's another friend of mine, and the great guitar player Tommy Denander. So, some interesting themes on this, some political and society or societal overtones. Check it out. Paris Records, Blue Ambition. It's very yacht rock West Coast. So it's a sound that you can easily enjoy. It won't hurt your eardrums. You can listen to it. And again, check out Paris Records. They have an interesting catalog. They are a record label that's been around for over 30 years. And were probably started in response to the 1990s, which again gave us what we have today. So Hart is in the news. Nancy Wilson was in my feed talking about how embarrassed she is. She is embarrassed to be an American. Holy crap, Batman. I think Rosie O'Donnell fled to Ireland. And I've been surprised at how few of these old school, old timer type musicians have. I'm kind of surprised that more of them haven't said stuff like this yet. I'm sure they will be. But Nancy Wilson, this according to the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, is not afraid to share how displeased she is with the current state of America. She's referring, by the way, back to her hit Crazy on You, which was inspired by one of the tumultuous or most tumultuous times in U.S. history. She says, we were kind of embarrassed at the time to call ourselves American because of the dirty politics of the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War, which was started by Lyndon Baines Johnson. Just putting it in there. Adding that the tune Crazy on You still resonates in 2025. She says this is going to be great for the Heart fan base, which is already getting a little, I would say a little thinner in numbers because, you see Ann Wilson sitting there on a stool in a wheelchair and you wonder, maybe has this band gone on a little too long or did they wait a little bit too long to come back? I mean, these are legitimate questions. But Nancy Wilson, who isn't typically the most outspoken on this, it's more Anne, but now, of course, Nancy, who apparently agrees with her sister on a lot of things, maybe not how the band Heart should be presented these days, but she agrees on politics. She says to be subtle, or to be as subtle as possible, it's more embarrassing to be American now, really, than it was in 1975. Okay, well, I don't know. I think she misinterprets what happened in the last election and why it happened. Now, this is a constant refrain with certain groups of people. She talks about rampant sexism and misogyny in today's culture, which apparently echoes another song in Heart's catalog, the song Barracuda, which recently was explained as a pushback against, these toxic males, these guys who show up in commercials for razor blades. Barracuda is even more relevant in the salacious billionaire culture with the grab them by the puh mentality. It's a word you used to be able to say, and now I don't know. But I'm not going to say it here. These songs will be there long after we are gone. So the salacious billionaire culture, so that includes who? Doesn't include Mike Bloomberg. Nope. Doesn't include George Soros. Nope. Doesn't include him. He's not part of the salacious billionaire culture. You know who it does include? It includes Elon Musk and Donald Trump. That's who it includes. Yeah. So there are only a few salacious billionaires who qualify here. Despite her disappointment with where America is today, Wilson added that she sees change on the horizon. She says, I think for women in the culture, the pendulum will come back again. Don't we have a female attorney general of the United States right now? I don't know, but maybe we don't. She says there'll be another renaissance in the arts to push back against the oppression of the cranky old rich white guys. Cranky old rich white guys. She says, I hope I'm alive to see that next revolution. Revolution. Okay. Talking about a revolution. Yeah. Heart recently launched their 2025 tour, their first trek. Please stop using the word trek, please. It's their first tour. Are they driving a spaceship through the galaxy? No, it's their first tour after canceling a run of shows last year so that Ann Wilson could undergo treatment for cancer. Rather than talking about Ann Wilson doing better and them being out on the road with Squeeze and Cheap Trick, this is what you get. I don't know what she's talking about. The culture pendulum will come back again. I don't know. The culture has been a disaster for decades, the culture. And I don't get where alienating, I would say, more than half your fan base, because she says cranky old rich white guys who buy tickets to go see Heart and say, hey, and their wives say, yeah, I like Heart. Let's go see Heart. Let's spend $300 or $400 to hear Ann Wilson attempt to sing in a wheelchair. Okay. I would have canceled this tour. I would have said, you know what? Yeah. We need to go out with some dignity. We need to go out with a bang. We don't need to go out looking like we should be in a nursing home. And I'm not trying to be mean here. This is what we're up against, because a lot of these aging bands are just out there for a last gasp, a money grab. Hey, this is it for us. We've got to make the most of it while we can still stand on 2 feet. And in some cases, we don't stand on 2 feet and people are still going to show up. So again, this is the same mindset where, like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they'll look for women who haven't been nominated to the Hall of Fame, and they'll nominate them. It's like DEI. We need more DEI. We don't need merit. We don't need a catalog. So I don't know, folks. You might disagree with me here. This is one that was forced into this article, and I'm sure I'm going to see more of these. I'm sure it'll be fine though. It'll be fine, because I was expecting actually a greater number of complaints. Those gas prices start coming down. Yeah, the little guy starts to be able to afford groceries and stuff again. That's going to be horrible for America. It's going to be those will be misogynistic, sexist groceries that you're purchasing. You cranky old white guy. There might be some truth to the cranky old white guy thing. I don't know. In my case, I try to let it just roll off my back, but when you got Nancy Wilson giving a sermon about how horrible America is, I'm not there with her. I have hope, I have optimism, not about a revolution, but about sanity, which I think most people would prefer over what we've had. All right, one more plug for this. Thanks to my friend Tom Mathers. By the way, Tom does not share my political system, my political belief system. So you can check out Blue Ambition and not worry about that. Although it appears this album might have some themes in it that would support some of what I believe with regard to the state of the world today. Seduction of the innocent. Yeah. Anyway, folks, thanks for watching. If you like this channel, do me a favor. Subscribe to it. Also, hit the bell for notifications for new videos. And hit the all button there because you won't get all of the notifications if you don't use the word all. Also, there's Patreon. There's Buy Me a Coffee. There's YouTube memberships. There's PJ Rock Super Chats. I've named them after PJ Rock because he is the greatest super chatter ever. And there's just watching the videos. That's helpful too. God bless everyone. It would be kind of cool if we could sort of get away from politics, but it's into everything. People say, I hate it when you do these videos where you inject politics. Well, politics is kind of like cancer. It has spread to pretty much everything. And so rather than talk about your music and your tour and how grateful you are to your fans, let's just alienate half of them.